MBS Highway team, welcome to the webinar. We're starting another section of our series here with the Loan Atlas team, where the Loan Atlas producers are going to tell you how they're using different highway tools. And the first one today is on Home Report. So I'm really excited for you to hear from them. We have Daryn Fillis, Scott DiGregorio, Josh Mettle, and Tim Brahim. And on our side, you have myself and Dan. We'll kick things off now.
Awesome. Well, guys, it's always a hit when you're with us. If you're going to learn a little bit more today, but if you're not with the Loan Atlas, you should really seriously consider it because these guys are brilliant. The best scripting I've seen out there in the industry, and it works so nicely with MBS Highway. And today we're talking about how to utilize Home Report, and they're going to share with you some of the success stories. But just wanted to share with you some stats, like right off the bat. You know, it's grown very nicely. I'm humbled that now like 515,000 consumers are receiving the Home Report. But what's even better is there's about an 82% on average engagement rate. So we know that it's effective. It's something people are opening and that they want to see every single month. Obviously, something they're interested in, the value of probably one of the largest investments they've made in their life, their home. But it's also just a wonderful tool, especially now where there's so much opportunity presently and on the horizon, to make sure you're staying in touch and in front of your database of customers and teasing them with opportunities. And in fact, we're seeing an average right now, and it's continuing to grow, of about 500 messages every single month from consumers receiving this, where they're reaching out to the LO through Home Report, either to ask about purchasing a new home or refinancing. And we'll share some success stories again on that note. But I wanted to just, in case you're not familiar, just take a couple quick minutes to show you what the Home Report looks like. So this goes out once a month to your customers. They'll get an email. And once they click on it, they see their customized home report for the property that they own. And it shows them things like the value of their home, how that's performed from the previous month, how have they done on their investment since they purchased the home. This customer's up $142,000 in appreciation. And then something nobody else has out there is, what's the future look like? And you can see the future forecasted appreciation over the next 5 years. It gives them some consumer tips and such. This is one of my favorites. It's a readiness to move score, but while predictive ones in nature can be cool, not always accurate, this is something where the consumer is telling you how ready they are to move. And if they're telling you, I'm ready to move right now because I need to move or I want to upgrade, I mean, that's some powerful intel for you and for your referral sources. And then we give them looks at how much equity do they have on the home, in the home, and what they could do with it. And where there's robust reporting for all this stuff. So personally, if I saw my customer looking at ways to pay off high cost debts with my equity, I think that's a good candidate to reach out to, have a nice touch point, do a blended rate analysis, and maybe it makes sense to do a cash out refi for debt consolidation, especially since rates have come down a little bit. They could go then to the market tab and they can see all the surrounding markets. They can add different areas that they want to look at as well on their own. And it shows all the listings for those markets. And what I love about this is the consumer can go through the different listings and stay in this environment. They don't have to go to Zillow where they could potentially, somebody could attempt to poach them. And again, remember, there's robust reporting. So putting together, hey, if a customer says they're ready to move, and they looked at these 5 or 6 or 10 properties, and here's the properties, here's the listings. What a valuable piece of information for yourself and also for a referral partner. And on the note of a referral partner, your realtors can pair with you on this. And the great thing, unlike competing services, it's free for them. That could be a barrier. A lot of times, realtors in this environment, maybe they don't want to pay for something. They have to pay for nothing, and they can upload as many of their customers as they'd like to the home report. And any of the ones they upload, they'll get a home report in a co-branded fashion with you. Great way to work more closely with the realtor and get all kinds of exposure to their customers. And they can even add people that they're not working with yet, leads and such. And then this could be like really true referral potentials there. Also, the tools section. This is where we know the current rate. You guys upload your database of customers, including rate. If you have that, we can show, hey, here's the current rate and here's average market rates right now. You could be right for a refinance, and we'll show them with our refi tool built in. This customer, this is actually a real scenario, they could save over $650 a month, and they can click all over to learn more, contact you, the loan officer, and their savings calculators. And this stuff, as I mentioned, has robust reporting. So you get emails when there's important activities the customer's doing. There's activity feeds. So without going too deep into it, I think it's something that you'll really enjoy, especially paired with the Loan Atlas.
Awesome, Dan. Thank you very much. So hopefully that was helpful for those of you who are not familiar with Home Report. We're going to get very tactical in this training, and we're going to start to teach you how originators like Daryn and Scott are using this in their everyday mortgage practice, not only to keep in communication with their past clients, which is incredibly important, because the biggest stat that you threw out there, Dan, that caught my eye was 82% open rate on these emails. The team, that is unheard of in email marketing. If a good open rate in email marketing is like 3, 4, 5, 6, you're crushing it if you get a 7% open rate. The fact that 82% of consumers are taking the time to open their real estate wealth digest. And that's what I always called it. I always called it a real estate wealth digest. It was part of the commitment we made to the customer. But the fact that 82% of the people are opening that and checking that out each month tells you this is incredibly valuable. So we're going to talk about that. But the other way that you can use this report is at the point of sale. Like, how are we using this as a conversion tactic when we're working with customers on the front end before they've ever said yes? And how are we implementing this and executing it with our realtor partners to generate more leads? So we're going to cover all of those things. Daryn and Scott are doing those things at a very high level. Before I turn it over to Scott, and I'm going to ask you to show us a live feedback from a customer that you have under contract right now from Home Report. We're going to get into the script that he used and how he did that. Before I send it over to you, Scott, I just want to ask everybody here, what is the difference between a top income earner and everybody else? It's super simple. The top income earners take immediate action and they have a high level of execution. Daryn and Scott have the success that they have in their mortgage practice because they're not just sitting back multitasking when they're watching a training. They're writing down action items. These are the things they're going to take away from this training and they're going to execute on after the training. I just share that with you because these guys are going to give you some real nuggets in this training. And if you're not writing down action items and you don't have an appointment in your calendar tomorrow to execute, then this was going to be fun and all. But my job is to make sure that you make more money, and I want to make sure that you have action items for this. So I just wanted to show one more thing as it relates to what your customers are going to see every month, and then I'm going to send it over to Scott, who's going to show us how he got a transaction with a customer and how he's dealing with the dashboard on the back end. All right, so this is the email that your customers get every month. Hey, Josh Mettle, your market is moving. And then it's going to give you a list of listings in your area. Now, why is this important? Well, if I've been stuck in my home since 2020 and I could not stomach refinancing at 8% or 7%, but now I'm hearing interest rates are in the low sixes, I may be thinking it might be the time after 5 years to move. So I think it's really smart that they have listings available right in that email. So 2 calls to action. Check out your full home report, which is what Dan just showed us, or check out your listings. Both of those are very strong calls to action. Over to you, Scott. Tell us a little bit about the clients you have under contract and how you were alerted that that client was interested in moving.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh. Thanks everybody for having me here. You know, one of the things that I use Home Report for is to be able to go back and proactively reach out to people. I mean, I get the reports and people do reach out to me, but I find a lot of results in just going through the activity feed and just proactively reaching out to people that are essentially raising their hand that they're looking to do something. And I could show you an email that I sent out to a client. Let me share my screen real quick.
And if you're logged into the dashboard, the activity feed, do you mind just showing that as well for people who aren't familiar with it?
Absolutely not.
And you have a recurring appointment in your calendar every other week, every week. Like, what's your system for executing around this?
Yeah, every other week. I have a recurring appointment every 2 weeks to do that. And yeah, so this is an email. It is not scrolling.
I can see the email there, but
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm not I don't know why it's not scrolling like it should. But
that's
basically,
okay.
I reached out to her. I said, hey, I saw that you were poking around the different houses and looking at them. I realize a lot of times people are just doing this to kind of play around, but if you're serious about maybe making a move, let me know. Let's connect. And this was her response to me. So this is a client that I closed 5 or 6 years ago, and I haven't stayed as in touch with her as maybe I should have, but it was still effective. And I actually have 2 deals right now in processing that's from that. And what I do is this. I mean, I just go ahead and look through here. So, she looked at 10 properties. Scroll down. And by the way, at the top, I go home report and then all home report for the settings. Let's see what else we got. So the Zajax looked at 5 properties.
That would be nice to know.
That's a good one. So Mendez looked at 5 properties as well. Donald Giger updated the zip codes he wants to look at. Ethan Arnold, I'm actually working with him right now. Ethan Arnold said that changed his readiness score to 5. I mean, I just literally scroll through here and I find Valom's playing around with their savings calculator, so maybe he's a possible refi. Anthony's moving in 1 to 2 years. Mr. Braden's moving in 1 to 2 years. I reached out to both of them. This guy Peter's shopping for houses. I mean, there's just gold on there when you start looking through the feeds, and it's amazing. I probably get 4 or 5x the responses when I'm proactive with it versus just waiting for them to reach out to me.
Fantastic. The other thing I noticed, because you forwarded me the email that you weren't able to pull up from the lady who responded and said, yeah, I'm interested in moving. The other thing that she put in there was, I'm not ready to make contact with a realtor yet, which tells me, great. That means he hasn't engaged a realtor yet. So that's not only a potential family you can serve, it's a potential referral that you can send back out. So you're catching them early enough in the funnel where it seems like they haven't actually gone out and engaged agents yet. So are you seeing that as a theme, or was that a one-off?
No, I see it as a theme, and it's another benefit of reaching out. Look, I have great relationships with my clients, and we'd all like to think they're definitely going to call us back. But the risk is they meet an agent, the agent talks them into using their loan officer that maybe isn't me, and I run the risk of losing the transaction. So I find it's critically important to reach out to them as early and proactively as possible to get ahead of that and control the transaction. And that feeds back to one of the promises I make to my real estate agents when I go over this tool with them.
Great. Daryn, anything you want to add on that front end side?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that I'm using this tool is basically twofold. Number one, to get in front of my realtor referral partners or new ones and present the suite of products, leading with Home Report as a tool to help us stay in front of their clients with us. So we do something, and we also show them, like, if you're not in the daily or weekly marketing zone, you're in the dead zone, right? Of staying in front of your clients. And this is a way that the realtor partner, along with us, stays in front of our mutual client together, and they love it. I actually got an email from one of my realtor partners. She said she has multiple properties, so I put my realtors on it as well, so they can see how it works, and they just love the value for themselves, and then also that they're giving it to their clients, that we're executing on our promise. Another thing that I use it on, I think is really, really important, is that before we even get into the structure of their loan or the economics of what's happening by using some of the other tools with MBS Highway, this is the very first thing I show the clients in our pre-purchase consultation. And so we lead with value, right? And I show them some examples of other clients that have purchased last year and show them, we're sharing that, yeah, when we present the real estate report card that we also use in our presentation, that they can see that the homes that they're looking at are scheduled to appreciate at 4.5%, 5% in the next year. And then I pull up an example of a client that purchased last year, and yes, it appreciated 5% based on the value. And they're like blown away. They're like, oh, wow, I've never looked at it like this. I never thought about purchasing real estate, thinking about how it can like increase my net worth. And that's what our whole mortgage practice is about. We're about educating folks on teaching them how to create value and wealth through real estate and leverage. And this is a great way to do it.
So could either of you, and I don't care, Daryn or Scott, you want to take a swing at this, and then Tim, I'll come right over to you, buddy. Could either of you pull up Home Report and just give me like an abridged version? Like, I'm a customer. We're having our first Zoom meeting. We call that the pre-purchase consultation inside of the Loan Atlas. And tell me how you're using this as a conversion tool with a new customer. Let me, you guys, if you want to pull up a version of this and take a swing at that. But Tim, before we send it over to those guys with that question, what did you have?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much here. I mean, there's layers and layers of value that could be brought and layers of strategies of how you can use this effectively. And what I'm sitting here thinking of is like, how would I have this conversation with a real estate agent, a prospective real estate agent? And my intention with scripting is always to ask questions and evoke pain. So my question would be simply, hey, let me ask you a question, Mrs. Real Estate Agent. Have you ever had a situation where you served a family, you put them into a home, and then 4 or 5 years later, you found out that they ended up selling that home. They didn't use you as a listing agent, and they went and they bought somewhere else that you could have served them. Has that ever happened to you? 100% of the time, the real estate agent is going to say yes. Now you've created pain. I don't want that to ever happen to you again. And I want to show you how we're going to make sure that that never happens again if we partner together. I'm going to keep you abreast of any activity that any of your past clients are engaged in to make sure that you're aware of the fact that, hey, they may be looking, and now you can proactively, strategically, and coincidentally call them and make sure that you're in front of them. So let's make sure that you never lose another commission check. And by the way, what I'd probably do is I'd quantify that to really ratchet up the pain. So what was sales price? Sales price was $500,000. So you're telling me you lost $15,000 on the listing. Do you happen to know what the new house was they bought? Well, I'm not really sure. Okay, let's assume it's $700,000, and you lost 2.5% on that side too. So we're talking about the loss of $30,000+ because you didn't know that they were looking. Let's make sure we never have that happen again. So that's just something that I'd add.
Great call out. I love quantifying the pain, asking them painful question and then going deeper with what was that lost commission on both transactions? What could that possibly have equaled? That's fantastic.
If I could piggyback on that real quick, a question I love to ask agents is, what are your current lenders doing to help you manage your database and prevent that horror story from happening again?
Yep. Love it. Hey guys, there's some questions as we're back on this topic of realtors. I've seen this several times. How do you add realtors? Can you upload their database? Who wants to take that?
Yeah. So, very easy process for your customers, for your realtors. I know some people are asking, is this a home bot replacement? It is. This is our version of a home bot. And don't get me wrong, great tool, but this really works well and syncs with all of our other products, has our data and kind of our look and feel, and obviously different modules and widgets within it, but same principle. As far as your customer list or realtors, you can do a upload with like an Excel sheet. We also have integrations that we're almost finalized with CRMs like Total Expert and such. We also help you keep your lists up to date because we are looking at every transaction, whether it's with a realtor or a loan officer that's closing, and we'll see if you closed a transaction, and we'll say, hey, we just saw you just close John Smith. You want to add him to your home report, and if we need something like an email, we'll queue you for that. But we have a team here that's really holds your hand like white glove to make sure that you get your realtors and your customers in there if you decide to sign up.
It seems like such an easy lift, man. Like I get a realtor partner, I upload their past client database, set it and forget it. You're going to have communication, valuable communication, co-branded going out to them forever. So such an easy lift. RG, do you want to jump in? And then at some point, I just want to remember either Daryn or Scott, I want you guys to teach us this product as if we're in your pre-purchase consultation.
Yeah, just so you guys know, one of the common pieces of feedback you'll get on a system like this, especially if agents have used it in the past, is that, we don't love sending these things out because the values aren't accurate, right? Every state is going to be different. Some states have, very good reporting on home valuation and home sales. Some are not public record. And so depending upon the state you're in, you might get some pushback or challenge that the realtor may not want that going out to their clients. What I tell every agent is, look, you actually kind of want the value to be off, right? You want the consumer to challenge it in some way because it gives you just another connection point to say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I totally understand. Like, for example, Utah is a non-disclosure state. A lot of the values are going to be challenging. But the good news is that you know that you have a client who is very interested in their home value enough to email us back and say, I think it's off, which means that we now have the opportunity to go put in the value that we believe is appropriate. You could do a comparative market analysis with that client, and you can ask them the question, is there any specific reason, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that this value is so important to you and your family today? Are you planning on moving up, down, out of the area? Are you planning on transacting in any way that we can start to do some planning around? And that's just a conversation that, unfortunately, to Tim's point, either is missed entirely or is very reactive. And I tell everybody, look, if your client calls you and tells you that they want to buy, sell, or finance a home, that's a failure. Right? We should be so proactively engaged with our clients that we help them decide when to buy, sell, or finance. And them asking a question about their home value or wanting it to be more accurate is just one more step in that direction.
Yeah,
Hey-
and RG, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
finish
go
the
ahead,
thought.
Dan.
No, I just see some questions coming in. The thing I just wanted to mention, and Tim and I were talking a little bit about this is, everybody on this call is on MBS Highway. Hopefully you're utilizing the strike rate tool, but the V1 of the strike rate tool, it's just looking at differentials in rate. But if you get home report, you unlock version 2, where we're pulling home values every single month so we can get a good idea of where the LTV is currently. So what does V2 give you? Well, maybe somebody could only save 0.25% in rate right now. It doesn't make sense for a refi just based on that. You're not going to get a strike rate hit on that. But maybe they bought the home with a 95 LTV with a high mortgage insurance payment, and now they're at an 85, or maybe you could either reduce or remove MI, and the combination of that with the 0.25% savings in rate is enough for them to save enough to potentially do a refinance. So you do get that benefit within your MBS Highway. And, Tim was talking about how great would it be if this was really synced up with the strike rate tool. Well, I don't want to promise any timelines, but that is going to be coming, where you're going to have like a version of strike rate where the customer can see that too within the home report, but that part's not live yet.
That's huge.
Great call out. Great call out.
Sorry
Scott?
for interrupting there, brother.
Oh, it was great. It was a great ad. Thank you, buddy.
One thing I want to say to Ryan's point is part of my sales kind of thing to agents is, hey, one of the things I'm going to encourage my clients to do every 12 months is to reach out to you for a CMA so they could customize and update the value that's on there, because we're never going to have a valuation that's going to be as accurate as your expertise. And I'm going to continually tee you up for that moving forward, so you stay top of mind, and I position you, Mrs. Agent, as the voice of value, like real estate values, to those clients moving forward after closing. It goes a really long way.
Great call out. Ryan sent me an incredible article a few years ago, and it talked about the frequency of interaction. And the article was basically making the point that the brands or services that are quickly forgotten have a low frequency of interaction. And if you think about realtors and if you think about mortgage advisors, like the only people who interact less with customers than us is like the morgue, right? Like we're 7 to 10 year interaction in terms of transactions, unless rates are going down, but it could be a very long period of time. Compare that to your interaction with Amazon. Like, my wife's on Amazon every 15 minutes. Pretty sure she's not going to forget where to go find the Amazon widget on her phone. So the whole intention, or the genius, I guess, behind this is that you're increasing the frequency of interaction. They may not need to do a mortgage this month, but they are interested if their home values went up 3% or their home values went down 3%, and that's increasing that interaction. And then the different prompts, their calls to action that they have to reach out to you when the time is right. So that's like the science behind why this is so genius and why I think you get such strong open rates. Scott or Daryn, who wants to hit demoing for us? We want to hear. Go for it, Daryn.
All right, let me share a screen here.
And just
Hold on
frame
one
this up
sec.
for everybody. You're doing this meeting in person or on Zoom. It's never on the phone. And where is this meeting in your sales cycle?
Okay, so this is after we initiate our first conversation with our client as our dreams and goals call. We're getting information from the client, the why they want to do this, just a high level, ask a bunch of questions, and then shutting up, letting them talk, capturing that information, and then structuring a potential deal based on an initial conversation. We'll go through the application process. We'll do a pre-approval process, and then we'll have the pre-purchase consultation. I call mine the Pathfinder Advantage because I like the outdoors. So I always try to like link it to my personal branding. And this is their advantage. And this is the first waypoint on the path. So what I do after having like initial conversation, I show my my deck here, but this is the first screen on it. And I do it dynamically. Okay. So I've got all my tools set up ahead of time, and you'll see them. This is like I've got home report, I've got strike rate, I've got the charts, I got the real estate report card, loan comparison. Like I've got everything teed up to go through it. So as I'm going through my deck, and then I'll stop, check in, and then pull these up. So this is the very first thing I lead with. And I said, you know what? Hey, Josh, you know how you get your bank statement from Chase every month and it shows you how you're doing with that, or you're getting your, if you're a more sophisticated client that has assets under management, I say, you know how you get that from your Fidelity and you can see how your assets are growing. Well, what we're going to give you as a preferred client of ours is I'm going to manage your debt for you. And I'm going to show you how your home grows and how it's projected to grow over the next 5 years. Would that be interesting to you? And they are like, well, yeah, I've never thought, oh, sorry, I've teamed up to you. Like, Josh, would that be interesting to you to see something like that?
I've never had a mortgage person reach out to me after closing before, so that would be interesting.
So look at it like this. This is a client that we worked with a little over a year ago. Excuse me, this particular one, a little under a year ago, and they purchased this home for $890,000. They've already made $23,000 in less than a year of transacting, and they're projected to make another $231,000 over the next 5 years. What would it feel like to you, Josh, if you were able to create $231,000 in the next 5 years?
That would be pretty awesome, especially if it were tax-free.
Have you ever thought about real estate this way before?
Not really. Like, I know you pay down your mortgage, but I've never thought about how that would grow over a 5-year period.
Right. So this is a way that we're going to, make sure that you get to have full visibility. And you know what? You get this every month and as part of our service package. Some other things here I think are really, really interesting that I personally love about it, because I'm on it myself, is I always like to know like what's happening with the market. Okay. What can I do with the equity? It lets me know what the current rates are in the market. So you think that would be helpful for you to know kind of what the market's doing and have this all like in a dashboard for you every month as well?
Yeah, certainly. So I could be tracking if it's time to refinance or something like that.
Exactly. And then you can just like get in touch with me right here if I don't get in touch with you first, because we're going to talk about something that we call a strike rate next. But so you can be proactive, and I'm empowering you to make the best financial decisions based on the equity you have in your largest asset that you have.
Very cool.
We move on.
Love it. So one of the things that, and I'm encourage the rest of you to jump in here with any additional scripting. I just wanted to share one other thing that I've used that I've found really lands with clients. So when I'm walking them through this home report, which I don't call it a home report, I call it a real estate wealth digest. And I would say, your realtor and I will be sending you a real estate wealth digest every month. Your financial advisor sends you an asset statement for the assets that they manage. Your realtor partner and I will be sending you an asset statement, a real estate wealth digest for the assets that we manage. And then I'm just hitting one other thing. I said, this is how you and I are going to communicate, not for the next 30 days, but for the next 30 years. So when there is an opportunity, when something changes in your life, we're one click away from you getting in communication with me. Right down here, you can say, I want to upgrade, I need to move, I want to invest. This indicates your timeline. And when you do that, it is going to send me, oh, got it. We saved your rating and let Josh know. I've literally just been pinged, letting me know that you need help with something triggered on this. So I'm actually pointing them to this tool as our primary communication vehicle for the next 30 years. And the impression that the customer is getting is like, I've never experienced anything like this. Like, you're going to help me manage the asset and the liability side of this thing for 30 years. And we're going to have an interaction and dialogue so that you make sure I'm a successful homeowner for the next 30 years. It's a very differentiated value proposition. If you're going against a call center originator, trust me, they're not going to have anything like this. You're going to create massive separation. Over to you, RG.
Yeah, great point. One of the things we have to do to what Josh just said is we have to really help the client understand what our real value is to them, right? Selling them alone is not hard, but helping them become a successful homeowner is not an easy thing, right? And it's nothing that any of our clients will have ever received, experienced it, or have they ever expected it. So talking about it in your consultation is incredibly important because that will be one of the factors in which they're likely going to choose you over a cheaper version of you. But then doing it again on the post-closing call, right? So when your transaction closes, you need to make this another part of that process to say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, please remember, one of the really important aspects of our post-closing experience is that we're committed to helping you grow your generational wealth. That takes both of us to be involved. And so as we showed you, we're going to send you the Real Estate Wealth Digest every single month. And I want you to think of it like a digital interactive bank statement for your house. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how often are you looking at your bank statements or your banking information? We look at it like daily, weekly, definitely monthly. And I said, well, it's likely that you won't have anywhere near as much money in your checking account that you're going to have in the equity in your home. So I want you to look at this report just as often as you would look at your bank statement, at least once a month, right? And I don't want you to just look at it and admire the equity you have. I want you to really read it. I want you to engage with it. And I want you to ping me as you have questions, because that's how we're going to stay very much in contact. Now, again, we're going to reach out to you, 3 months in and 6 months in, and we're going to do our annual financial review every single year. And we're going to touch on your Real Estate Wealth Digest when we do your annual financial reviews. But it's going to be much more helpful and if we stay consistently engaged. And so I just want to make sure when that comes out, on our 90-day call, we're going to review it again together. We're going to go over questions. We're going to make sure you're looking at it. That way we can stay much more actively engaged, because I can't commit to helping you grow your generational wealth if it's one-sided. Does that seem fair? Yes. Okay, great. Now you've just cemented them into the activity of using it. You've created the why around it, and you've given them an opportunity to, tell you that they'll engage in the next 90 days to talk about it further.
Great scripting, bro. Great scripting. The other thing I failed to mention that I think's been very resonant when I talk through this with clients, especially if they've owned a home before, even if they haven't, like inevitably you're going to have questions about home ownership. Should I take out a home equity line or a fixed rate second mortgage? Should I finish off the basement or should I remodel the kitchen? Should I put in a pool? Like all of those things have equity consequences. And ultimately, when you go to sell your home, those decisions are going to be very important because it's going to impact the check you get from the title company when you go to sell that home and move on to the next property. So I want to be involved not in 7 years when you've got your check and now you're ready to go buy a new home, which is unfortunately what most people in the mortgage origination profession do. But I want to be involved in all the micro decisions along the way. If it involves your home, if it involves your equity, or it involves you accessing equity, I want to be a thought partner with you. And we're going to bring your realtor back in because we're going to weigh what feels good emotionally with what makes sense financially. And let's make sure those things are aligned. Just like a financial advisor, if you call them up and you're like, hey, I need 100 grand. They're not just going to wire you 100 grand. They're going to be like, let's get on a Zoom meeting. Are you headed to Vegas? Like, what's going on with the 100 grand? Right? So I am your sanity check as it relates to big decisions with your home. And this is how we stay in communication for the next 30 years. That seems to really land with people because they're like, oh shit, I don't know if I should finish the basement or do the kitchen. I don't even know the difference between a HELOC and a fixed rate second mortgage. So if you start to give them ideas of some of those decisions they're going to have to make during home ownership that impact successful home ownership and not successful home ownership, that seems to really land with people like, yep, that's valuable. Scotty.
Another script that I use with a lot of value goes something like this, like, hey, John, I'm excited that you're starting the process to buy your first house. And for most people, this home is the biggest financial asset that they have. And people make decisions based on the performance of that asset. But the problem I see is so many people are making decisions based on whatever headline they might be reading in mainstream or social media. And it's
Great
just
call.
missing the boat. So one of the things I want to do, John, is give you updated facts so you have real numbers and real data so you can make the proper informed decisions, because I hate for you to go down a route thinking something is one way when it's actually the other way, and it ends up hurting you.
Yeah, calling out that that headlines are typically national news, and there may be no correlation with that national news headline and your city, your neighborhood, your house. That's a great call out. Great job. Okay, so let's close out this line of thinking. I want to answer a few questions about the Loan Atlas and Home Report, and then I'd like to have 15 minutes for Q&A. And if there's not a lot of Q&A, I want to get into some of the other tools, your MBS Highway tools you're using in that pre-purchase consultation to jack up your conversion rates. So I want to make sure we have time for that, but let's just summarize. So first and foremost, we're using this tool as a way to increase the interaction frequency with customers. And when done, ideally, it's co-branded with the Realtor, so you're getting the additional lift of increasing that frequency on behalf of both of you. 82% open rate, that's fantastic. The email that comes out that says, have you seen all these other homes that are listed for sale in your neighborhood? That catches their eye. So that's number one, right? Number two, we're positioning this to new and existing Realtor partners and positioning it from a place of pain. Have you ever lost a deal? How much, quantifying what that cost them. And then you're creating a solution to that problem that they've all experienced. And that can be done for new agents, existing agents to deepen relationships. And the third way we're using this is as a conversion tool. So in that pre-purchase consultation, we're trying to create as much separation as humanly possible between the experience with us and the experience with the rest of the origination industry that makes a 30-day commitment. We make a 30-year commitment. Did I miss anything there? Those are the three ways we're actively using this, or is there something else?
Realtor conversion is the fourth way, Josh.
Help walk me through that.
Like I referenced earlier, the pain point that that Tim brought up is along the lines of what I've used. I've heard him say that before. I've stolen it from him, and then I ask him, like, what is your current lending partner doing to help you manage your database and make sure you never have that experience again? Well, here's one of the tools that I'm going to provide. And then I go into the script I went into about, I show it to them and I say, I'm going to position, when I do my annual financial review with the clients every year, I'm going to ask them, have you gotten a CMA from Linda yet? Oh, you haven't gotten it? Well, we need to update that value. So Linda, I'm going to be positioning you every year as the voice of real estate values to this client to make sure that, and keep them off of a Zillow, which is just designed to steal that next interaction or transaction from you. So I use this very, very heavily to help land my agents as a differentiating factor. And I know there's competing services out there, but the fact that this is free to real estate agents makes it really appealing.
Great call out. Darren?
Yeah, I would add one more thing. I've got, and actually just, I had a couple examples pulled up, but I have clients reaching out to me because of the home report of something that they saw. One client, she says, I got it right here, but she says,
share your screen. It's always so impactful to see these things visually as well. If you've got it queued up, we'd love to see it.
Yeah. I'm interested in refinancing and worried about my payment going up in April, because she was on a temporary buy down. It led to like a 30-minute conversation where the voice of reason, we're grounding her, really good connection. And then you know what it does? It tees up an opportunity for me to ask her, hey, Vanya, who do you know that is like somebody like you that's looking to purchase or refinance right now that we could offer the same value? And she's like, oh, my friend at the office, she was talking about it the other day. And I was telling her about you. I'm like, oh, cool. Could you make an introduction? And she did. So that's like, a client reaching out to me. That's really cool, right?
Gold.
Because of this tool. Here's Fanny, my number one referral agent in West LA.
Nobody called her, by the way. We should have whited out her phone number there.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't call Fanny. So she's, I put her on it with her referral, with all of her investment properties. And so she's like, she loves it. And then,
so she gets a different one for every one of her investment properties.
Oh yeah.
That's a spectacular idea.
So she's on it and she's a referral. So she gets the value And she loves that I'm executing on the promise when I first met her because I told her I was going to do this. So she gets to see it every month. Here's another guy who reached out to me for a refinance, you know, because of this. It wasn't the right time, but then it gives him the trust. Like, oh, cool. Like, thanks for letting me know. And I explained and walked him through it. But I'm having conversations with my clients. And the last one, I don't have it up here, but she called me. She's like, hey, I got this thing. It says it's time to refinance. I'm like, hey, you beat me to it. It was right when the window came down. It coincided with the home report, and we're supposed to close her this week. So like, it's just an incredible tool, like all around, and it's well worth the nominal fee.
Dude, great examples. Thank you for coming so prepared to share generously. I think to a certain extent, we've been planting seeds in frozen ground the last few years, right? We've been planting seeds, and it's really hard to harvest at 7 and 8% interest rates. This is like the nexus moment when rates have come down. They're starting to read things in the Wall Street Journal about mortgage rates coming down, the Fed dropping rates, et cetera, and the soil is softening. And people are thinking about moving. They're thinking about pulling cash out. They're thinking about refinancing if they bought after 2022. And it's like, this is the moment where I think the soil is fertile and we have to take action. I'll go back to what I opened with. What's the difference from top income earners and everybody else? They're no smarter. They don't work at a better company. They don't have better rates. That's all BS. It's all about taking action and executing around these tools. And you guys have loans in your pipeline right now as a result of that execution. Okay, I'm going to jump into just answer a few questions about the Loan Atlas. And we do have a special discount for a bundle with Home Report, and then we're going to get into your questions. If you don't have any questions, we're going to talk about some other tools that these guys are using very effectively. So what is the Loan Atlas? It's an online coaching community that teaches loan originators how to get more leads, close more loans, and build an annuity income stream for life. For those of you who don't know Tim, before Loan Atlas was Loan Toolbox. So Tim was a legendary originator, and then after his origination career, created Loan Toolbox. Many of you may have had that product. This is Loan Toolbox on steroids. Ryan Grant has referred to it as the MBA in the mortgage industry. What makes Loan Atlas different than any other mortgage coaching company is it's not just Tim teaching the vast amount that he knows, but he has brought together 18 other coaches, which we call faculty, to help teach you what they're doing in their origination careers, how they're growing their teams, how they're building perfect loan processes, how they're increasing their volume, how they're dealing with all the same challenge, how they're dealing with rate shoppers, how they're overcoming all the same challenges that you are in your markets right now, and how they're having outsized success. So it is very diversified. We have 7 live teaching segments every single month. There's a master class taught by one of the faculty members, something they're doing in their business right now that they're crushing it in, that they're getting a lot of business from. 2 weeks later, we have an implementation session to make sure that you act and execute on what was taught two weeks before. That is the accountability implementation of the master class. On top of that, there are 4 what we call office hours per month. These are intimate coaching sessions. You and a few other people gather together with one of our faculty members and you bring them their biggest problem. I'm getting crushed by the local credit union. My appraisals keep coming in low. Builders keep stealing my business. I am not doing great expanding the number of loans I have in my pipeline. I'm not a great leader. I don't have a perfect loan process and loans keep blowing up. All the problems we've all been through in our career, these folks have seen those problems, overcome those problems, have been taught personally by Tim, and you have intimate interactions with them to help you overcome those issues. As an example, I'll just give you guys one example of this. And I'm not, this is not me trying to dislocate my shoulder, trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm super proud of this. I just got an update from our operations team. We have 42 my production team has 42 refinances closing in October for $21,991,263 in volume. That money will be harvested in November of 2025, but we've been doing the work since 2023. creating strike rates, getting agreements from clients, getting their buy-in, following up with them, telling them, nope, now's not the right time. I will continue to manage this indebtedness for you. So it's learning from Tim. This is what Barry's been teaching and yelling from the top of the roofs as well. It's doing the work and then having these massive harvest periods like we're going to have this month with over almost 22 million in refinance volume that we're going to have this month. Okay, the proof's in the pudding. So if you look at the average or the median loan originator in the industry today, they do $5.2 million in production. Not a very high bar. The median Loan Atlas subscriber, 11.8 million. That's a delta of 6.6 million in additional production. That's, could be $66,000 in additional income because these Loan Atlas members are learning from Tim, learning from the faculties, executing on what they're learning. And like us, we have these gangbuster months like we're having in October of 2025 because we've implemented the things that we're learning. The basis of in addition to the 7 live classes, is the 8 disciplines of loan origination mastery. These were created by Tim Brahim. It is everything you need to know from your first day in the mortgage industry to legacy and freedom and retiring out of the mortgage industry. It starts with essential knowledge. Then we go to a system for selling, which is exactly the scripting and the things you need to say to overcome the objections, marketing mastery to increase your number of at-bats, team building and leadership excellence. If you're good at conversion and you're good at lead generation, you better be good at team building and you better be a good leader because you're going to need to bring people around you to handle that volume. Systems for customer service is where Tim teaches the perfect loan process. So if you have loans that are blowing up and you're constantly back in your loans, you're doing something wrong. You need a perfect loan process. This is where Tim teaches that. Mindset, health, personal development, because if you're not taking care of those things, you're only going to go so high in your professional life, time and task management, and then legacy and freedom. What does it look like in the final chapter of your career, and how do you make that role? Now, these disciplines are taught in what is called modules. Modules are very highly curated and professional teaching videos, and I'm just going to show you really quick one of Tim Brahim's modules. This module is called Presenting to a New Lead. So it's an example of one of the 200 teaching modules. I'm only going to pay about 60 seconds of this, and I'm going to put this on 1.75 speed just for time here, team. But here's what a teaching module looks and sounds like.
So we're going to get started in this video with a system for selling yourself. There's going to be scripts embedded in this video, and there's going to be steps to the process. So this would be a really good one for you to sit and take notes. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go off script a few different times to explain a few things because I really want to make sure that you get this. I want to first start by saying that when you talk to a prospective borrower for the first time, whether it be a purchase or a refinance, it's critical that you bring your A game. It's critical that you have a process that you're taking the person through that gives you a high probability of success. This is how you make your money. And it's critical that you're continually evaluating and looking for areas to improve your process. All right, so what I'm going to first start by doing is taking you through the process that I executed for years as an originator that allowed for my batting average to be extremely high. It wasn't always extremely high. It evolved over time, and as I continued to tweak and adjust, I kept making it better. And as I made it better, we had more and more conversions and a great deal of success.
Okay, so you get an idea of what these modules are like. They come with transcripts, a summary of the entire video, a time-stamped transcript, so you can go to specific parts and pull out scripts, learning documents that you can download so that you have implementation, support documents. If there was a bunch of scripting pieces in this module, there would be documents there, and then you complete the lesson by passing a quick exam to make sure that you have mastery of all the things that you learned in there. Okay, so the question was, and then the last event, guys, I said there were 7 live events each month. You also have live access to Tim Brahim. So the last Friday of every month, there is an hour-long, and see, I didn't say last Friday of every week, Tim, so you're welcome. Last Friday of every month, Tim does Talk to Tim. You bring any questions you have, business, life, balance in life, time management, business, growing teams, realtor relationships, referral partners. You bring any question you have, Tim spends an hour. Oftentimes he goes 90 minutes giving you one-on-one advice in Talk to Tim. Super valuable. It's really the only way to get to Tim unless you're in his signature program, which has a price tag of over $35,000 a year is what we paid for it. And all of us have been through his signature program, by the way. So we've put together a bundle for those of you who are interested in joining the Loan Atlas and joining Home Report. This is for any new members to the Loan Atlas and any new members to Home Report. So typically the Loan Atlas is $349, Home Report is $169. That's $518 a month. We basically have given you a 50% discount. For only $269 a month, you can get access to both the Loan Atlas coaching platform and the Home Report product. It is an annual subscription, but you pay it monthly at $269. And if you already have Home Report, because I'm sure some of you already do, you could join the Loan Atlas and get your CMA for 1 year. Or if you're already a CMA member, it will give you your renewal for CMA, and it would be the exact same price of $269. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen. Dan, I see you want
Yeah,
to.
I just wanted to say, the list price of Home Report's $179. So actually, it's even a little bit more than that. But essentially, for a little bit more than you would be paying for HomeBot, you're going to be getting Home Report and the Loan Atlas, which I think is going to give you a ton of additional value. So definitely consider it, team. I think, before Josh, you had said kind of in a past tense that Tim was a legend in the industry, but I think he still is. But no, these guys add so much value, and we're always so happy to have you guys. But guys, the Loan Atlas is incredible. That talk with Tim, I've gone on there many times, and it's well worth your time.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Tim?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions that I saw in the chat that I think you need to answer, which is there are people on here that are already Loan Atlas members. How much is it for them to get into Home Report?
Yes. So if you're already a Loan Atlas member and you want only Home Report to add that, it would be $99.95 a month. So easy enough. Just send an email to sales@mbshighway.com. I'll put that in the chat too. And if you need a demo too, we can go through whatever you need on the phone.
Great.
Thank you.
And those
Thanks,
of you that are Loan Atlas members, if you are implementing Home Report as an add-on, you can then come into office hours and talk to us and get coaching and make sure that you're continuing to execute and implement this. So we can continue this discussion inside the Atlas is where I'm going with that. Tim, what other questions did you see in there that we should answer, or anything else you want to add?
No, nothing to add other than just would be a pleasure to help you. So if any of you want to become a member of the Loan Atlas, it would be great to have you as a member and to help you. Secondly, is whether you're a member of the Loan Atlas or not, you need to have Home Report. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, my goodness, the amount of things that were displayed today alone that can give you leverage and massive lift by having access to this tool is substantial, and it's not very expensive. I mean, we're talking about the cost of what, a third of a loan maybe per year. I mean, if you're implementing even half the things that Scott and Daryn and RG and Josh talked about, I mean, you're going to get more than a half a loan, that's for sure.
Yeah, good call out. And Tim, I saw there was a question in the chat. So thank you very much. The way that this, if you go to this QR code or go to this website, which has been put in the chat, you'll end up here. And this will show you what the typical off the rack price is. Well, I guess should be $528. But then you'll notice if you scroll down here, there's a discount code OWN. And then that's going to give you your discount there. So that's already put in there for you. So it'll be $269. And then you just fill out your information. So nothing else you have to do there other than just scroll down. And sorry, that's a little confusing there. Okay, I see Q&A stuff. Was there any other Q&As questions that we didn't answer, team?
I see one on how many clients you can upload. So, Jason, you can upload as many clients as you want. Competing services out there, they're going to count every email that you send. So, if you're using HomeBot, if you upload 5,000 clients, you're going to be paying a lot more than $200 a month. I think the way that we treat this is extremely fair, where we are only counting in your kind of bucket those that are actively engaged in the Home Report. So if you do go above a certain tier, there's a minimal additional charge, but you don't feel bad about paying it because the only ones being counted in those tiers are people that are actually looking at it and that it's effective for. So
yeah, and if you have that many people looking at it, you're getting deals out of this. So I don't think anybody's going to be mad at that. I also saw there was a question. I think that is an integration thing. However, if the appraised value was higher than the sales price, this is also a manual update, right? So I think what they're asking is if the value's off, high or low, then they just go into that same dashboard that Scott screen shared earlier, and they can edit the value there.
Yeah, that's correct. And listen, it might seem a little counterintuitive, but as Josh even said, oftentimes, and I think our values are pretty darn accurate, but oftentimes, you could have scenarios where it could be a little off. Sometimes those elicit a response better than if it's accurate and start a conversation. So
Yeah, I mean, if you buy into the interaction frequency being important with people remembering you and being kind of like top of mind when they have real estate issues, you want that conversation. You want a reason for that. You love that they're looking at their home report and they found something wrong, because now you get to have a conversation. And oh, by the way, how are the kids? Right? And what are you guys up to? Like, what's the plan over the next 5 to 10 years? Are you guys thinking about downsizing and moving, buying a second home? Like, what does the next 10 years look like for you, Dan? Right? And you just get into those conversations that I wouldn't have had a chance. It's way easier to engage and deepen a relationship like that than it is for me making a cold call to that client I haven't reached out to in a couple of years. And I'm like, how's it going? Right? That's an awkward conversation. These are layup conversations.
really great point, Josh. And I just see a comment here. Does this eliminate the need for list reports? So this is different. This does live on the list reports platform because you're pairing with agents and such. You don't have to have list reports in order to have home report, but they are separate products with different intentions, right? So list reports, you have your automated marketing platform. You have the ability to look up agent production data, get alerts based on their activities, and know when to engage and what to engage with. And then home report, think of it almost as an additional product that you unlock on the list reports platform that is intended to send these pieces to your database of customers and your realtors customers every single month. But again, you don't need list reports to have home report or vice versa. It just is on that platform.
Great clarification, Tim.
Yeah, so I was just reading the chats and I sit here and I think about what I would do. So there are people that are asking questions about the uploading of past clients into their database. Maybe even you've inherited a database because somebody got out of the business and you took over their book, et cetera. So I started thinking, well, what would I do there? Well, I would make sure that I don't just send them home report. I would have some type of a mechanism to communicate to them to let them know that you're going to be sending them home report. So that looks like slide dial or just recording a voice memo on your phone and using a batch text messaging service. And it sounds something like, hey, it's Tim Brahim with First Rate Financial, and I just want to share with you some really exciting news. I'm sure that you have often wondered, I'm sure you've often wondered what the value is of your home. And the unfortunate part of the mortgage space is that, I'm stealing off of Ryan Grant and Daryn here a little bit, the unfortunate part of the mortgage space is that you don't get a monthly report like you do with your asset portfolio. Well, I've solved for that. It's called Home Report or your Real Estate Wealth Digest, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to start sending it to you free of charge this month, and you're going to get it every single month. And then you add in the scripting that Josh added earlier, but don't just send them the home report and hope that they open it and hope that they associate it with you. Go the extra step and make sure that you're reaching out to them in some type of a mechanism. You can also record.
Tim, on that note though, not to interrupt you, when you send the first home report, you have your own custom video that you can create. So the first home report that goes to your customers, you can record a video and, have a brief little explanation of what it is that they're getting with the invitation. Just thought it was
sent out to their
relevant.
email, or is it sent to them via text?
That's via email. So what you're talking about could be in addition to with a text or phone call.
I would be afraid that it gets lost in a spam filter or just, with a whole bunch of other emails. Like I would piggyback it also with a text of some kind, whether it be verbal or video related, and make sure that you want to get engagement on this. The more people that you have engaged, the better. And that would be something that I would add to the equation.
I think it's a great idea.
Great call out. Somebody in the chat says, does list reports alert you when they have an open house? And the answer is yes, I believe.
Yes. Yep. New listing, open house. There's a bunch of different alerts. we are following what your realtors are doing and letting you know when you should engage based on different activities.
And even when they sell a property, so if they have a sale, you can reach out to them and congratulate them or whatever. Is the cost of CMA course included? Let me clarify that because there could be a lot of confusion here. What we were offering was a new members of the Loan Atlas and new members to Home Report bundle at $269. But where some people on the call may already have Home Report, so that bundle doesn't apply to you. So in that case, you could get the Loan Atlas and your CMA certification for $269. So if you're already a Home Report member, you could use that CMA bundle. If you're already a CMA member, then it would pay for your CMA renewal for the next year. So we're trying to, help as many people as possible and make it as valuable as possible for everybody on the call.
And Josh, I mean, everybody's making great, I see comments coming across about how great the education in CMA was. Just as a reminder, that's normally $2,000 to sign up, and Loan Atlas is taking care of that for you guys if you sign up, if you already have Home Report. So
thanks, Dan. Great call out. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for being here. And, as we've said several times, like the genius is in the execution. So it's what are you going to do? What is the action list you take away from this? We hope that we can continue to serve you in these webinars we're doing in concert with the MBS Highway, and hope everybody gets after it. It's going to be a great couple months in the mortgage industry. Let's get excited and get to action.
Yeah, guys, you guys are always the best. We appreciate having you. I'm going to go watch the Fed minutes right now and hope it doesn't shake up the bond market. But I hope everybody has a great day. We appreciate you guys, and thank you guys at the Loan Atlas.
I'd love an alert to float if you got one in the cards, Dan.
Let me watch this and see what happens. This was an interesting
Thanks,
Fed meeting because, I've never seen so much division at the Fed that I can remember. Remember, they cut at this meeting. We had some outliers like Stephen Moran. So it should be an interesting minutes to dig through here.
Buckle up. Glad you're watching it. Thanks, everybody.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.